All right, so we got a big game coming up. We got the Inter Miami versus the Vancouver Whitecaps for the MLS Cup. We got Shedeur Sanders' second game. We got the best duo in the NBA. I think so, me personally. And we have the Miami Hurricanes getting mistreated when it comes to a possible position spot for the playoff. Lane Kiffin just left Ole Miss, going to LSU. But you know what time it is. Let's go off the clock.
Love for my enemies like X's and O's. Excited niggas and smokers and O. We come with a different approach. Got blood on my clothes, so all of my goals in line. All of my hoes in line. I find what I'm supposed to find. Gotta learn to close your mouth or leave with an open mind. Oh my God, you from a city they pretend to lie. Being fake in the street, you attend to lie. See so many niggas that be in the truth. Not enough niggas that be in the block. My niggas are tentative. That means he don't see in the lie.
Yeah, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Off the Clock. I am your host, Sean Arias, and let's talk some sports. Now, we had a lot of great things happen this past week when it comes to sports, but let's definitely start off in MLS. Now, I've been, watching a lot of the playoffs and everything since it started back up after the break and everything, and I've definitely loved a lot of things that I saw, minus my LAFC losing. I didn't like that, but everything else, just the energy that it has brought with the chippiness and everything, the momentum I feel that the MLS has right now, I think is continuing to slowly build up more and more, and people can actually appreciate what they are seeing. You know what I mean? Because, of course, with the MLS, you get a lot of haters. You get a lot of people saying this, saying that. And I feel it's just time to enjoy some, just some good soccer or football. But we do have Inter Miami versus the Vancouver Whitecaps FC, and I think it's going to be a great matchup. Vancouver took care of San Diego, which I like San Diego. I like what they brought to this year to the league and everything. There was a first-year team, and to be as consistent and play as well as they have for, the whole entire season is definitely, something to tip your hat to. But Vancouver, I saw that matchup, and I wanted San Diego to win. Cause I do like I said before, the whole Cinderella story type thing, but it was just something about Vancouver that I couldn't just X them off. You know what I mean? They have, the experience as far as, being together as a team and everything. They got the Bayern Munich legend over there. And I thought this game was going to be 2-1. It ended up being 3-1, But hats off to San Diego FC again. But Vancouver is going against a team that has been showing firepower the past couple weeks when it comes to their offense ability and everything. So can Vancouver slow them down? With Inter Miami, which is, of course, my team, I am biased on that in that aspect. But you have, of course, Messi. And here recently you have Messi's crew stepping up more. The young guns is what I call them. You got them stepping up more. You got them showing, hey, I can be aggressive. Hey, I can be a threat when it comes to whenever people is trying to double Messi and try to, smother Messi and stuff like that. You got these young guys like Allende who can come out there and get a hat trick just like he just did. The very last game they had against New York City FC was definitely a game that was definitely a outing for a lot of the young guys. You got, like I said, Allende, he scored 3 goals. You got Segovia, he got a goal in. You got the super young guy, Savetti, he came in, he got him a goal in, and I like him a lot too as well. He's definitely someone that has that moxie of like, okay, hey, I can definitely be a threat when it comes to, getting myself into the right position and everything. And I think that's some of the biggest things. And like, you don't even have Rodriguez scoring just yet, but he has that capability as well, but he's holding down the midfield and stuff. So I'm definitely loving what I'm seeing. And like I said before, you got to give your hats off to Javier, the coach, for making these moves, for saying, okay, hey, Suarez, I got you coming off the bench. That can't be an easy conversation, when it comes to, especially when it comes to friends and stuff like that. But just to make that decision to have him come off the bench, I think is big. And we have seen the fruits of that labor as far as the young guys going in there, putting in work, and I'm loving it. I'm loving what I'm seeing. The tandem of, Allende, Savetti, and, of course, Messi and everything. The last game, Messi, he didn't even have to score. The past 3 games, the Inter Miami has played 4-0, 4-0, 5-1. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's going to be that easy of a task when it comes to Vancouver because, like I said, they do have that experience. I can definitely see them being a physical team. They are a team that went head-to-head against Inter Miami at the CONCACAF championships and the playoffs and everything for that, and they beat them. So definitely Miami owes them, a loss for them. I definitely think it's going to be a good game. I can't wait to see it. Like I said before, I wish that they can move it to the stadium that my Hurricanes play in right there and have it be a bigger atmosphere, make it grand, make it a situation that people can look at it and look like, okay, hey, this is a big deal. They have to start doing those things for people to look at them as a big deal and for, the players to have that feeling and everything like that. And I think that's a must. Hopefully going forward, they could have that type of energy. You know what I mean? But I love a lot of things, that the MLS players I've had so far. I know there are going to be some tweaks because the first round thing, not everybody loves that. They're playing 3 games, best of 3. Yeah. But other than that, I have definitely enjoyed it. You know what I mean? This has been a different energy. And you got, like I said, the Bayern Munich legend versus Messi and everything going head-to-head. I know Messi wants to bring in that championship, to bring in that brand new stadium. I keep saying that. And also the Bayern Munich legend, Thomas Müller, he wants to, what better way to win your first MLS Cup against Messi and, before Messi. So both teams have some ammunition that they can use to go back and forth. So I definitely can't wait to see that. Y'all let me know what y'all think of the playoffs and who do you have winning it? Do you have Inter Miami? Do you have Vancouver? All right, so let's talk about that. But next up, let's go to the NFL. So the NFL, had a lot of good games, a lot of big games going back and forth. And one thing I do want to touch bases on is the young guy, Shedeur Sanders. He had his second game, which it wasn't a bad game. I probably give him on a ABC scale. I give him a B minus, maybe B minus, around there. There are, they lost, but I don't put that loss on his shoulders. I did see the same potential I saw in his other game. I do see the calmness, the poise, him, trying to escape the pocket and stuff like that. Still trying to build that relationship with his teammates and everything, and still trying to, get himself in position. He was 16 for 25, 149 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 3 sacks, but I still don't think that, I'm not trying to point everything at the coaching, but I don't think they have opened that full playbook up and allowed him to open up. You know what I mean? There are times and situations to it's like, wait, that whole quarter he only did 8 to 10 plays as far as throwing. You know what I mean? I feel like you got to give him a little bit more of an opportunity to, be involved in the game. Yes, you do have a great running game. I think he was 23 carries, 91 yards, 0 touchdowns. But, you have to have that quarterback. You put that same faith and that same belief into Dylan Gabriel. So you got to do the same thing with Shedeur Sanders. That's the only thing I always preach is equal opportunity. You know what I mean? If you're going to give it to Dylan, you got to give it to Shedeur. You know what I mean? If you give it to Shedeur, you got to give it to Dylan. It's the same thing. Like I said, I preach all the time, equal opportunity, and I feel like Shedeur definitely deserves that. He looks like a capable quarterback. He looks like a guy that, who he has the respect of his teammates and everything like that. Seems like he has good communication. There was a little riff or something that, because we don't know exactly what, because we didn't have audio, but we have visual of him and Jared Judy going back and forth, talking about a play and everything. And Jared Judy was definitely animated, with the clapping their hands and, stuff like that. You saw a lot of that energy and everything. And I just don't think it was necessary. You know what I mean? And especially from a player like Jared Judy, he is someone that could do better. You know what I mean? Seeing plays that, that it don't seem like he's running full speed. There was a time that the ball looked overthrown, but it also looked like he just wasn't running. You know what I mean? And he's had that type of characteristic from the past few years, even dating back to when he was in Denver, of a player that just doesn't give him his all the time. You know what I mean? A guy that may not be in love with the game. But, hey, I don't know what that back and forth was about, but I do believe that it's something that could have been talked about differently versus being as animated and of how it was. You know what I mean? I do believe it was a guy on YouTube or TikTok, whatever. He was discussing it as well. He was saying that I don't think, being a veteran, I think 6-7 years, Jerry Jeudy has been in the league. You have a rookie quarterback, but why does the rookie quarterback look like the veteran versus you? You know what I mean? The rookie quarterback, he's sitting there just, calmly talking everything like that to you until, everyone has that breaking point and stuff. But I just don't think it was a necessary thing, especially when you already know, okay, hey, all the guns are shooting towards Shedeur. No matter what, everything he does, it's an issue. You know what I mean? So having that in mind, okay, hey, this is my teammate. I'm going to make sure I'm going to come correct. You know what I mean? But, hey, hopefully it's nothing. Hopefully something that can blow over and everything. But I definitely think that, those guys have a pretty good future too as well, hopefully. You know what I mean? If not, you definitely get some more weapons in Cleveland. So, but speaking of weapons, speaking of a great season going on, the Carolina Panthers are surprising people even more. Now, Bryce Young was a guy who got benched last year. It just wasn't clicking, just wasn't working out. Then, he came back in, and you saw the promise that everyone thought he had when he was the number one pick a few years ago. And this year, it's even more. The team is 7-6 right now, so it's not the best record in the world, but still, for the Panthers, that's really good. He was 15 for 20, 206 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and they beat the LA Rams, who was 9-2. Now they're 9-3, and I think that's a big win for them. A big win for them because it shows, hey, we are building something here. It shows confidence in their quarterback. It shows when you have a coaching staff, a organization that believes in their quarterback. It shows when they have full belief and they put the right situation around him, how things can look. You know what I mean? And I think, like I said, Bryce Young, he has a lot of potential. I hate when he does it to my Falcons, but hey, you got to respect it. You know what I mean? He's definitely a future quarterback that I can see being an issue for my Falcons and other teams in the NFL. So big hats off to them as well. Like I said, against the Rams, that's a big win. The Rams, they definitely are a team that, has been there, done that, and look to continue doing that this year as far as being a successful team in the NFL. But speaking of pain and success, or I wish success, again, my Atlanta Falcons get an L yesterday. It was a tough loss for me because I thought, okay, hey, this is the Jets. This is the Jets. We should win this game right here. This should be a game that we should win the same way how we beat the Saints. You know what I mean? It should be a game, but it didn't go our way. It didn't go our way. It was a lot of things that, it still needs some tinkering with. You know what I mean? The defense played pretty good, putting pressure on the run game and the quarterback and stuff. Tyrod Taylor, he was escaping the pocket, getting a few runs on us and everything. But it was definitely a game that I feel that I said before, our offense was good, just not good enough. You know what I mean? I do like that we are going under center more as far as not just doing, the nickel play, pistol plays and stuff like that. And I do like that switch up, but we have to do something. You know what I mean? And I think it's blatant obvious that we need a number 2, number 3 wide receiver, with Drake London out. It's like, come on, man, we need something. You know what I mean? So we definitely need to key in on that position in playoffs. In the offseason. Has to be a must. Pitts, he had a pretty good game yesterday. Bijan Robinson, he had a pretty good game too as well. Kirk Cousins, I don't put that loss on him. He had a pretty good game as well. I like what I saw out of him. I like the confidence I can see in him that he's getting back a little bit, because for a while it looked like he was, didn't want to be there. He was just there, just throwing it here, throwing it there, but he actually looked like somebody who was actually, hey, I'm comfortable right now. You know what I mean? And I enjoy seeing that. Hopefully, out of these last 5 games, we can get some more wins. But, and speaking of wins, let's go to college football. My Miami Hurricanes are in a dilemma at the moment because they are a team that could or could not be in the playoffs. Now, a lot of people are spoken about the Notre Dame situation. I think Notre Dame is number 9, number 10, something like that as far as in the rankings. And how can Notre Dame be above my Miami Hurricanes when Miami Hurricanes beat Notre Dame? And then people talk about Alabama. The team that beat Alabama, Miami beat them. You know what I mean? So me personally, if my Miami Hurricane does not make the playoffs this year, it will be a historical downfall for the whole playoff system. You know what I mean? And not just because that's my Hurricanes. You know, I am biased, but not just because of that, but just in general. Like you had, like last year, the Miami Hurricanes, we was like number 8 or something like that, and we lost against Syracuse, which was a really close game and stuff like that. And we went down like 5, 6, 7 spots. When Texas, they lost as well by a bigger margin. They only went down 2 spots, and they stayed in the playoff picture, and we went out the playoff picture. I think that's crazy. That's crazy in my opinion. And to have that happen 2 years in a row of something like that, and like I said, we've won the past few games. We've ended the season off strong and everything, and I feel that Miami definitely needs to be in this playoff picture. You know, I think it would be blasphemous if Miami Hurricanes is not in the playoffs, especially with the teams that you have up there. It's crazy. It's crazy to think, and hopefully we'll get the right call. But let me know what you think. Does Miami Hurricanes need to be in the playoff picture? Does Miami Hurricanes deserve to be in the playoff picture? Of course, you know my opinion. I think so. But a lot of speaking of playoff pictures, we got some changes at coaching. You got the man Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss after 5 to 6 years as the head coach. Now he's going to LSU. Now, there was a lot of mixed emotions there. There was people booing him and stuff like that. They said he wanted to coach the last, couple games in the playoffs and stuff like that. AD said, nope, I got to live here. I know you don't. I can't do that. I can't let that happen. And I understand because, you have, transfer portal and stuff like that. With having him staying on board, that could have him actually talking to possible transfers, people coming in, getting them to switch and everything like that. So I totally understand that. You know what I mean? But it's just a tough situation of him leaving right now, and the playoffs is about to start, which it could be just, hey, the NCAA needs to do something about their scheduling as far as transfer window, as far as, players making things officials when signing days and stuff like that. It needs to be moved. It needs to be moved because, I think the pressure in the situation you see right now, I think is a definite issue, and I think Lane Kiffin, I think he's going to do really good at LSU. He's been in situations before to where he has went to different schools and made a difference. As you see, look at Ole Miss. Ole Miss, I haven't seen them being this good, probably consistently, maybe since Eli, but he definitely has brought some relevance to them and definitely made them a threat in the SEC and everything, but you really can't turn down LSU. LSU is a different situation, and like I said, with Lane Kiffin, when he was, he went to first head coach, and when the 1 year he was in Tennessee, he definitely made a difference. You can definitely tell it. The fans hated him when he left. When he left to go to USC. And with USC, it didn't have the best years there and whatnot. And then he had to, get his reputation back going. Went to Alabama, was a offensive coordinator and quarterback coach for a little bit and everything. And to get stuff back going, then he went to Florida Atlantic and then Ole Miss. And I feel like this is another step up going to LSU. You really can't turn down an LSU job. I'm just saying. So I think he's going to do really good there. They have a lot of good talent in Louisiana. So to have him there, he has a good type of relationship with players and stuff like that. I think it'd be a success for him. I can definitely see them bouncing back after this year being in the the playoff hunt next year, especially the next 2 years especially. But let me know, do you think it was the right time for Lane Kiffin to switch over? Let's talk about that, all right? Now, in and off in the NBA, my teams, who I think is the best duo in the NBA. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you the stats before I tell you the names or whatnot. The past 3 games, player number 1 has had 34, 12 rebounds, 7 assists. 35, 5 rebounds, 11 assists. 43, 9 rebounds, 13 assists. That's player number 1. Player number 2, 33 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. 38 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. 31 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Now, if that's not the best duo in the NBA, show me somebody who is. Show me a better duo and, put their stats head to head. because that's Austin Reaves and Luka Dončić. I think they're definitely the best duo in the NBA, and that's not even having LeBron there all the time. But even with LeBron there, look at those numbers. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of the Lakers. Everyone doubted, Austin Reaves said they should have traded him a year or so ago to get whatever they could. Nah. They got Austin Reaves. They saw the potential in him, and they kept him. And this year, he's going to get paid big time. But are they the best duo? I think so. Like I said, show me another duo that has better numbers, better situation as far as winning. You got some of the top teams. You got Shai Gilgeous and maybe Chet Holmgren, but I don't think they're putting up those numbers. They're not putting up those numbers at all. Kevin Durant over in Houston. Who was his running mate? Is it Thompson? But I don't think it's somebody that can put up these exact same numbers the way the Lakers are doing right now. But like I said, let me know what you think. Who is the best duo? Is it my guys from the Lakers, Luka Dončić and Austin Reaves? Let me know. But that's it for today. Let me know what y'all think on all the topics. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And definitely see y'all next week. Until then, let's talk about it.